Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of clients ask me how I calculate estimated nutrition needs. They want to know how I come up with the numbers that I come up for them to aim for the amount of calories, carbohydrates, fat, protein, fluids, and sodium that they should have per day. And I will say right off the bat, some of the things are just standard based on gender and stature and things like that. But I will do the best that I can to explain. And if you have any questions, please leave comments below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. All right, so let's get started. So, for starters, we should understand what estimated nutrition needs is a term that us dietitians, nutritionists use to describe all the numbers that are included as a part of calories and macronutrients and micronutrients. And so anyway, sometimes you'll see it abbreviated. If you ever see any of my nutrition notes, you'll see it abbreviated as ENN, of course. And then just to explain what a macronutrient is, a macronutrient, there's three of them: carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Micronutrients, that includes everything else, such as saturated fat, cholesterol, fiber, vitamins and minerals such as sodium, vitamin D. Macronutrient distribution is the percentage of each of the macronutrients that makes up the calories. And this distribution, these are percentages and they must equal 100. And so the first number typically indicates 60%. You'll also see some people, the first number is almost always, not 60%, carbohydrates. And sometimes some dietitians will do the second number will be protein or it'll be fat. For me, I make the second number fat. So 20% fat, 20% of calories from fat, 60% of calories from carbs, 20% of calories from fat, and 20% of calories from protein. So this is a typical layout. Sometimes these numbers will be adjusted depending on a person's medical condition or their health goals. For example, a person with diabetes will probably have 50%, 45 to 50% of their calories from carbohydrates. They can also go a little bit lower, like 40. In extreme cases, maybe 35. But then if we reduce this, we have to add on somewhere else. I typically add on to the fat because even though society will have us think that fat is a bad thing to have, we do need some fat in our bodies for hormone synthesis and a bunch of other metabolic processes, and also for fat soluble vitamin absorption. And the fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. So those are A, D, E, and K. Those are the fat soluble vitamins. And so getting into the math, first we have to calculate how many calories a person would need. Typical dietitian uses something called ideal body weight. And to get that, you just need the person's height or your own height. So my height is 5'2". I'm a little mini-me. And you also need their gender. I am female. And so females, the calculation is for the first 5 feet is 100 pounds. 100 pounds for the first 5 feet. And then every foot after that, or every inch after that, it's 5 pounds. So 5 pounds for every foot, I keep saying that, inch afterwards. Okay, so in my situation, I'm 5 feet, right? So and I'm a female. I'm 100 pounds, and then I have 2 inches, so that's 5 times 2, so that's 10. So my ideal body weight. Sometimes you'll see it abbreviated in a nutrition note as IBW equals 110 pounds. Now, I have more to say about ideal body weight, which I'll probably talk about in future videos, but I don't really tend to, besides these calculations, I don't really focus too much on ideal body weight or encourage clients to get to reach their ideal body weight, because it doesn't take into consideration a person's ethnicity and a few other things as well. So, but we'll talk about that at another time. Now, if I were a female, let's say I was 5'2". Oh, not. Oh boy, it's a long day. Excuse me. If I were 5'2" and I were a male, excuse me. If I were 5'2" and I were a male, then it is 106 pounds for the first 5 feet. And then it is 6 pounds for every inch afterwards. So if I were a male, 5'2" and a male, now that's a pretty short male, right? That's for this society. So then my ideal body weight would be, so it's 106, so it's 6 times 2, so that's 12. So 106 plus 12, I believe, is 18. So I believe it's 118 pounds. If I were a male, let me double check. Let's go over here and do the math. So just to reiterate, a female, the first 5 feet, 100 pounds, right? So we have that right off the bat. And then for every inch afterwards, or for every additional inch, it's 5 pounds. So 5 times 2 is 10, right? And then you add in the 100. Boom, 110 pounds. All right, for the male, 5'2". The first 5 feet is 106 pounds. And then it's 6 pounds for every additional inch afterwards. So 6 times 2 in this case, so that's 12 plus 106 pounds because of the 5 feet, and 118 pounds. Okay, so we're just using this for calculations, and I just wanted to tell you, how we came up with the ideal body weight so that you understand that part. Okay, so now we have to figure out, okay, well, what does this have to do with calories, right? So calories, so what we do is we take this number, the number in pounds, and we have to divide it by 2.2 to get the kilograms. And so we have to divide this, oops, let me go back. Okay. Divide this by 2.2, and that would give us the weight in kilograms. So 110 pounds divided by 2.2 will give us 50 kilograms, our weight in kilograms. And for a male who is 5.2, their body weight in kilograms will be, 118 divided by 2.2 is 53.6. Some dietitians will round up to 54, and that's fine, especially since a male, and I think I would do that, 54 kilograms. Okay, so now we have the weight in kilograms. So then we take an additional number and we multiply that by 25. And I'm really drawing a blank right now, and I'm not going to edit this out either. I'm not going to do any editing, as a matter of fact, to this video. So you're going to get all my bloopers. But anyway, we multiply it by a factor of 25. Some people will do 22, 21, blah, blah, blah. So we will do 50 times 25. And so that gives us 1250. And then so the next number is typically 30. This is a normal typical range. If a person was overweight or obese, we can use adjusted body weight, or we can go even lower with the factor. So 30 times 50, and that'll give us 1,500 calories. I don't like to see these wonky numbers here, so I'll typically do just 12 to 1,500. But for accuracy's sakes, we'll just leave it like this, 1,250 to 1,500, because I don't want to confuse anyone. Okay, so we have that. So then we have to take the calories, and figure out how many grams of carbohydrates this will yield, right? And so for carbohydrates, let's see. Carbohydrates, 1 gram of carbohydrates equals 4 calories. So if I have, so with that said, we have to take 1,250 calories and divide it by the 4 calories to get how many grams of carbohydrates this should be for 60%. So here's what we have to do. So we have to do 1,250 times 60. Oops, 0.6, excuse me, that's 60%. Okay, 750 divided by 4 calories. So that will give us the number of carbohydrates in grams. And so I'm going to round up to 188. And then we'll do the same for the 1,500. So 1,500 times 60% divided by 4. And that will give us 225 grams of carbohydrates per day. Okay. And these carbohydrates, we will take them and break them down into further categories. So there's 3 types of carbohydrates: fiber, sugar, and starch. But that would be another conversation for another video. Okay, so now to get the fat, same concept, but we have to multiply it by a different factor here for calories. So fat, 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So you see that can add up pretty quickly. All right, so 1,250 divided by, multiply by 20% equals 250 divided by 9 equals 27.7. I'm just going to go ahead and round this up to 30. But if you want, I can, I'll just do 28. We'll just do 28 so I won't confuse anyone. 28, and then we'll do 1,500 times 20% divided by 9. So that gives us about 33. So let me just double check because I feel like something is wrong here. 1,250 times 0.2 divided by 9. Okay. 1,500 times 0.2 divided by 9. Nope, that's right. Okay. Now, if I were like I said, I like to round up, round down to make them nice, even numbers. So here's what would happen here typically. If I were like doing a note, it would probably be like 30 to 45 grams actually. Most of my clients have some type of medical issue, so their numbers will never look like this right here. So, all right, let me do the rest. Grams of fat per day. Protein is, so 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. And so that means that same concept here. So we have here 1,250 times 0.2 equals divided by 4 gives us about 62.5 grams. So we'll do 63. And then we have 1,500 divided by 20% divided by 4 calories equals 75 grams of protein per day. Now, what I'm about to say, dietitians do this differently. Some will do 1 milliliter of fluid or water per calorie. I just have a standard in that inpatient practice as a clinical dietitian is different from outpatient practice. There's a lot more factors that go into it in the inpatient clinical setting, like the hospital setting. For me, the standard is 1/2 gallon to 1 gallon for almost every patient unless they're on a fluid restriction. And so 1/2 gallon is 64 fluid ounces, and a gallon is 128 fluid ounces per day of water per day. All right, so sodium, the standard is 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. So some people who have a heart condition or high blood pressure, they may have to stay, in the below the 2,000s. Some people who have like congestive heart failure, some type of fluid retention issue, will have to have significantly less than this sometimes. Just depends on the situation. But here's what it would typically look like if I were going to round this up and down. Let me just put that here. Let me give it more space. Okay. So if I were rounding this up and down, here's what this would look like for me. What I would like to see. 12 to 1,500. And then, or I could do 1,250 to 1,550. But people who are 5'2", I am 5'2". We're very petite people, and we don't need that much. I eat within that caloric range, and I do never really feel like I'm starving or hungry or anything. I'm fully satisfied all the time. And let's see, 225. Yeah, that looks better to me. So in this situation, I feel like 28. The 20s make me scared. That's too low. Then I would probably go up to 45 or 50 grams of fat. And then for protein, I can go as low as 60 and then leave it at 75. So this looks much better to me. Doesn't look better to y'all? Yeah, I think so. So once again, thank you for your time and attention. And I hope you learned something today. Just to reiterate, estimating nutrition needs, that includes all these numbers here, and macronutrient distribution, that is the percentage of each of the macronutrients that makes up the calories. And then I told you how to calculate ideal body weight. It is 100 pounds for the first 5 feet for females, 5 pounds for every inch afterwards. And then for males, it is 106 pounds for the first 5 feet, and then 6 pounds for every inch afterwards. If you want to know how your weight in kilograms, you have to divide it by 2.2. And you have to divide your weight in kilograms, get your weight in kilograms, to get the caloric amount. And the numbers we use typically is like a factor of 25, 30 on average for like a normal healthy person. But like these numbers here, this is for a normal healthy person, no health concerns whatsoever. But we can also go down to like 22, in extreme cases 20. It just depends on the dietitian's judgment. And 1 gram of carbohydrates equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. So yeah, thanks again, and I hope you learned something today. And if you have any questions, please leave it below. If you have any feedback, leave it below. Every little bit of interaction helps to grow my channel. And see you next time.